Chapter 786, Face. Arcs of silver lightning shot from the obsidian trident, turning the entire captain's cabin into a hell of electricity. Despite having bribed Howl Constantine and weakened his attacks, Jenna didn't dare risk her fragile body against the powerful lightning at such close range. She and Franca shattered into pieces amid the dancing arcs, reflecting the blinding light. Their figures reappeared at the cabin door, where lightning still raged. Franca didn't hesitate. She grabbed Jenna's arm and activated the last gem on her 7-stone bracelet before the paralysis set in. Blink! They vanished from the cabin door, blinking to a wooden table in a room diagonally opposite. During this process, Franca and Jenna saw metal panels sliding open on the cabin ceiling, revealing several dark holes. With a splash, blue seawater poured into the captain's cabin like a waterfall, and the metal door shut tight. When Franca and Jenna's figures reappeared, their bodies still crackled with residual electricity, and they trembled uncontrollably. Immediately, the last gem on the 7-stone bracelet shattered, leaving only the 2 diamonds representing teleport. In the corridor near the stairwell, Lumion and Anthony remained unharmed by the electric storm. It wasn't because the lightning hadn't spread through the metal floor and walls, but because Lumion had taken out the gray-white lightning-shaped brooch Fury of the Sea from his traveler's bag and thrown it ahead. One of its side effects was that it had a high chance of attracting lightning during storms. This meant that it greatly attracted lightning. As expected, most of the small electric arcs converged on Fury of the Sea, making it bloom like a bright silver flower. Thus, Lumion and Anthony only felt a mild tingling, retaining their ability to move. Looking at the now-closed cabin door, Lumion raised an eyebrow and murmured, "Did Howl Constantine get seriously injured in the last attack and decide to seal the cabin to recover?" To Lumion, Admiral Deepsea's response wasn't wrong. If possible, it was indeed one of the best choices under the circumstances, especially since Howl Constantine couldn't gauge the strength of Lumion, who had been merely watching and not acting, nor did he know the full extent of Franca, Jenna, and Anthony's abilities. If faced with something like a banshee's terrifying scream, Howl Constantine, having been weakened by a demoness's black flames, would likely die instantly. But sealing the cabin to recover was precisely what Lumion and his companions hoped for. They hadn't planned to kill Howl Constantine before the fate exchange was complete. This quiet waiting scenario was exactly what they wanted. Watch out for secret passages in the cabin. Howl Constantine might escape or jump into the sea, Franca cautioned Lumion as she recovered. She had rich experience in assassinations. "I'm keeping an eye on it," Lumion replied concisely, picking up the Fury of the Sea. He was monitoring the fate exchange situation and his own senses and spirituality. If Admiral Deepsea showed any signs of fleeing, Lumion would immediately blow open the cabin door. As long as he didn't directly attack Howl Constantine, the fate exchange wouldn't be interrupted. Franca's hands still trembled slightly, and she exuded a faint burnt smell as she remarked, "Howl Constantine's lightning strikes and spirit body and mental protection from items almost ruined all our efforts, along with this unique environment. If not for our abundance of mystical items and our good teamwork, we might have been forced to give up the plan and have you join the battle personally." What's the phrase? An unstoppable force overcomes all obstacles. No matter what supernatural abilities you use, I'll counter with lightning and turn it into a weaker version of a lightning storm using the environment. Jenna, who was also trembling and smelled burnt but was in better shape, nodded slightly in agreement. As the one fighting on the front lines, she deeply understood this. Outside the carnival bar, the pirates and disguised pirates saw the heavy wooden door suddenly swell and shatter. Boom! An explosion followed, sending the doorframe and fragments flying. The figures of Great Shark Jorg and his men finally appeared to the onlookers. Most of them were injured to varying degrees, their expressions grim, as they sprinted towards the dock without bothering to disguise themselves. Seeing this, both real and fake pirates had similar thoughts. They lost. Even with all of Admiral Deepsea's top men, they lost. Are they running to seek help from Admiral Deepsea? They're fleeing in such a sorry state. As thoughts raced through their minds, the onlookers turned their gaze back to the inside of the carnival bar. They saw broken tables and chairs, exploded barrels, and the mingling scents of alcohol and scorch, but no sign of the unknown adventurer. This left the pirates and impostors bewildered, unsure of what it meant. In the sealed captain's cabin, now filled with blue seawater, Hal Constantine's cloaked body floated, bubbles constantly rising. His face, with the translucent octopus, hung slightly down, gazing at the submerged metal floor, feeling his soul being nourished, quickly shaking off his weakened state. After several seconds, Hal Constantine slowly but steadily raised his head, looking at the closed metal door. Outside, Lumion turned to Franca and said, "It's almost done. Stand by the door and show your face." If Hal Constantine sees the real face of a demoness of pleasure, he might feel extreme pleasure, which will help with the digestion. "This is so weird," Franca muttered as she moved to stand opposite the captain's cabin door, leaning against the metal wall. She pulled down her hood, revealing her radiant and beautiful face. She wanted to strike a pose, but couldn't bring herself to do it under everyone's eyes. Lumion, calculating the progress, walked to the door of the captain's cabin and placed his hands on the metal. White-hot flames instantly gathered, compressing layer by layer into the metal door. Rumble! The metal door rapidly caved inwards and then exploded. With a splash, the blue seawater gushed out, momentarily driven back by the explosion's shockwave. Hal Constantine's figure emerged before Lumion, Franca, and the others, a hopeful smile playing on his lips. Taking advantage of the respite, he had activated the Nuin's defense system. He was ready to fight the four assassins with the help of this alchemical ship. In that state, he was confident he could hold his own against even a demigod for a while. This was the main reason he hadn't jumped into the sea when the cabin door closed. Suddenly, he saw an exceptionally beautiful face and a figure despite partially covered by leather armor that radiated allure. He was momentarily stunned. At that moment, Hal Constantine's mind buzzed, going blank. That emptiness was immediately filled with extreme pleasure, which erupted, seemingly shattering his soul and scattering it in all directions. He froze in place, his blood staining the blue seawater that hadn't yet flowed out of the cabin. Tears streamed from his eyes, mixing with the seawater. They were tears of pain and tears of joy. Silently, the translucent octopus fell from Hal Constantine's face, revealing his true visage. It was a handsome face, but the features were not deep, rather soft. Seeing this, Franca's heart suddenly raced. This face bore a striking resemblance to the man she had encountered in the Trier catacombs, Harrison, who was suspected to be from Resurrection Island. Not in detailed appearance, but in style. It was an Eastern-style face, but not purely so, more like a mixed heritage. Stunned, Franca heard an illusory sound of something shattering and felt the complete digestion of the pleasure potion. She saw an illusory starry sky filled with twinkling stars. Lumion was about to kill the severely injured Hal Constantine when he suddenly sensed the environment becoming extremely dangerous. He heard the mechanical sounds of the entire Nuin's mechanism activating. It was like a killing machine awakening. Lumion didn't hesitate. He reached out, grabbing Franca and Jenna's shoulders, and lifted the bottle of fiction. Anthony stepped forward, grabbing Lumion's clothes. The four of them quickly disappeared from the corridor, outside the captain's cabin. They teleported back to the motel in Banamo Port. Soon, the pirates near the dock noticed the Nuins retract its masts and sails, sealing itself up and submerging into the sea. Great Shark Jorg and his men hadn't even reached the dock. Fleeing. Admiral Deepsea just fled. He didn't even fight the adventurer, just ran, leaving behind his first mate, second mate, and bosun. Various thoughts surged in the minds of the pirates near the dock.